Yo, what up everybody? Alan Dean, Tourmaline Kings. About to do a little ring tutorial here for you guys. I'm gonna go over some of the supplies real quick. 22 gauge square wire. I'm gonna use 20 gauge half round. And then I got two different kinds of 26 gauge here. Some of the basic supplies that I got down here too. We're going to be bent nose, bent chain nose pliers, nylon jaws, spring clamp, a ring clamp, snips, ruler, ring mandrel, and a scribe, parallel pliers, a couple other little things. So here are my 5 base wires, all 7 inches long. So generally, good rule of thumb is leave about 2 inches in the middle of where you're going to put your actual ring band binding wire, which in this case we're going to use 20 gauge half round. So you have 7 inches wire, you want 2 inches in the middle open for the band, so I measure 2.5 inches on each side in, and I make a little mark. So for that I'm going to use Sharpie, and we're just going to go ahead and measure 2.5 inches in, and again, this doesn't have to be an exact science, anywhere close is good. It's kind of just a guide so that you know where to start and to stop your binding wire. We're gonna kind of make it about a 5.5, even though I want it to be a 6. Like I said, we'll go a little small and we can stretch it at the end. So let's just check to see kind of where we're at here. I can probably still wrap a little bit more. Alright, pretty good. So, now that I've folded around the mandrel, you can see I got the general ring shape. And we got these 2 bands coming together. This is where we're going to use this same wire that we used to make the band. We're going to thread it through here, up and around, and we're going to bind these together, and then what that's going to do is going to make a good little seat or a platform for this stone to rest on. usually somewhere around this time is when you want to go and kind of double check your size, because you can still do some adjusting here. You can pull it tight, you can loosen it up. Yeah, so see right now this is like 7. It's like way too big. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to kind of pull these together, and you notice that closed the whole gap over here, so now it's all binding wire. If it's still too big, then all we do is just undo a couple of these guys up here. Let's check it again here. So now we're kind of back to like a 5 3/4 and a 6. It's kind of too close for comfort. So I'm gonna pull nice and tight here, and that's gonna be, we're gonna go right there at 5 1/2, and make that it. All right. So now we have the ring band done, and we have the seat or the platform for your center stone. In this case is opal, and that's about perfect size wise. So for this design, you can, there's really infinite possibilities as far as how you want to do it, and you can do this with as few or as many wires as you want. For your frame, you can do 2, which I would suggest using thicker gauge wires, or you can do 3, 4, 5, 6. I've made a ring up to 8 base wires wide, so you can do them as wide as you want, really. And then the combination of the outer wires, I like to keep them symmetrical, so whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do on the equal and opposite side over here. So I'm going to use the same 20 gauge half round that I made the band out of, and I'm going to just kind of keep going. And I pulled 2 wires out on each side, and we're going to just wrap these in the same wire, and that keeps it kind of all together, and you don't have any more beginnings or ends poking around, which is kind of nice. So, like I said, I'm going to leave a little bit of extra wire here just in case I need to add a couple more, if I need to go up to like 30 or so. So we'll leave, I don't know, say another like 2 inches or so. And so now I'm going to go do the same exact thing on this side here. And when I start it, I like to try to wedge this wire up underneath the binding wires here. And once you get it in there, you can come back, get your nylon jaws, and smash it down. Just kind of hold it in there a little bit. And we can start wrapping it around again. Alright, so now for the fun part, setting the opal. I'm sure everybody does this a little bit different, but what I like to do is get the stone, kind of hold it in the middle with my thumb, and we're going to take this first wire and we're going to put it right over. I'm sure it's tough to see because my thumb's in the way, but put it right over the corner of the stone there. And then we're going to get the other side, other wire, and do the same exact thing. So we're going to hold it and pull it over. Boom. So that's a good start right there. And now the idea is to take this wire that you bent backwards and over it and tuck it underneath and then bind it around the band here. So I'm going to do that like this. Do the same thing on this side. So the cool thing is you can always make the adjustments as you go, and we can tweak these wires out to make sure they sit in a good spot. All right. So once we bend it over, I like to snip it right about where it crosses here. Bam! And then just bend her down and kind of tuck it under a little bit. And you'll see what I mean when I add some photos a little bit later. Alright, that's usually the hardest part of setting the stone, is getting those first two wires. Alright, so that's a pretty good start there. So now we're going to progressively work our way out. So the next set is going to be the rose gold. And I'm going to bend this in just a little bit more. I'm going to make sure. This is when we get to test our lengths. We are way long. So I'm going to have to undo. I have to undo probably about 15-20 wraparounds here. Let's see, we want it to be right about there, so. I forgot the stone was so small. I'm used to using bigger stones. So we're going to undo.
there. So the reason I undid it is because you always want the wire that's going underneath to bind, you always want that to be bare. You don't want this wire to be on the underside too and make the ring too bulky, and it's not very comfortable on the fingers. So same thing we just did. Fold it backwards and over and try to get it up next to this one as close as you can, nice and tight. And I always do the other side too before I snip and bind it actually set. So let's measure our length again on this one.